Hi, Cara. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. May I record this session?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. The video and audio recorder may be turned off at any time if you don't feel comfortable. So just let me know if you don't feel comfortable having something recorded. I'll be more than happy to turn the camera off.
Okay.
Before we start, I'm just going to hand you this consent form to read over just to make sure that everything is okay by you.
Okay.
You can sign too.
Okay.
Good job.
That's for later. Okay.
All right. So what brings you in today?
So I am a nanny.
Okay.
And the family I work for, they have 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And they're adding a 3rd in late January, early February. The thing is, I haven't told them yet that I do not want to continue with them because I don't like to watch newborns.
Okay.
And the other thing is I haven't told them is that I'm also looking for another job and I'm moving. So I haven't told them a lot of things, and
Wow,
I don't
that
really
seems
know.
like a lot.
I don't really know how to bring it up to them without them being like, okay, well, we don't need you anymore because I still need the money until January, basically.
Yeah, understandable.
When I can find a new job.
Okay. All right. So I think we can work on something, figure out a plan to make sure that you're able to not only communicate with your the kids' family, what the situation is at hand, and just come to an agreement as to what can go on, as well as to give them enough notice to not only find another nanny, but so that way you have another job backed up as well.
That sounds good to me.
All right, so why don't we go into a little bit more with this family, like what it's like watching the kids, what the relationship is between you and the family, how many days you work a week, just so we can get a better idea as to what we want to set in mind for our goals.
So the parents, for starters, are wonderful. Like, I adore them. I love working for them. But their kids are the exact opposite of them. They misbehave. They don't listen. Their 4-year-old kind of tries to revert back into, like, babyhood a lot. She's constantly telling me that she doesn't like me. She can't stand me. She hits her sister. She'll hit me. And then our 2-year-old sister, she's still not potty trained. Which, I mean, it's not a big deal. Obviously, you can potty train later. But she'll, like, purposely, like, sit in her poop for hours. And then she has this horrible rash. It makes it look bad.
Oh, wow.
And, I don't know, I only work Thursdays and Fridays. And, like, right now, it's, like, 1 day a week because of this whole thing with how she has to take maternity leave. But to take maternity leave, she has to take 2 weeks vacation time. So she's on vacation right now, so I only work 1 day a week. But, like, they're not, like, excited to see me or anything when I get there. And I'm like, I wonder if they ever tell their parents, like, that they hate me. And the parents are like, we don't care, we've gone through like 12 nannies, because they've gone through like 12 nannies.
Oh, wow.
In like the past year.
Well, it definitely sounds like it's a problem more so with the family than you. Based on what you've said so far, it does sound like the parents are really easy to work with. However, the children are not so much, which I think is pretty typical for kids. So when you're watching the kids, how do you feel? Like, what kind of thoughts do you have?
Stressed, angry. I'm really mad at them all the time because I don't listen. I try to set up the rules for them, like, you can't eat chocolate for breakfast, I'm sorry. You can't have your Halloween candy for lunch today. Like, you're gonna eat the sandwich and the side of fruit that I made you, and it's this or nothing. Which ensues tears, usually, because I'm a monster, obviously. That's when they usually tell me, we can't stand you, I hate you, and I'm like, okay, go cry in your room because I don't want to hear it, which is what their mom told me to say. Their mom told me, just tell them to go cry in their room. They will. And I said, okay, but they're not eating. She's like, kind of just give them whatever. I'm like, I can't just give them whatever. I don't feel right giving them whatever. I want to give them fruits and vegetables and, like, not potato chips and popcorn.
Right. You want to make sure that the family you're caring for is, the kids are well nourished and that they're taken care of in that regard. So as they grow, they have this knowledge of how they should eat and that it feels good when you eat good food.
Exactly. I just think it's important to start good nutrition early in life.
I
do the same
agree.
thing with my daughter. Like, I make sure she's got a fruit and a vegetable and a protein with every single plate of food.
I agree.
And I just think that all kids should have that, but they don't force that upon their children. They don't care if they don't eat. They don't care if all she had, like if their 2-year-old just has milk the whole day.
Have you tried talking to the mom and the dad about this? So, like what your concerns are, like as the children grow? Like obviously I know you don't want to overstep any boundaries, but have you tried discussing with them, say like, hey, you know, I'm a little concerned when I watch your kids, they don't seem to want to eat ever unless it's junk food. You know, have you consulted a pediatrician about this? It could be a sign of a condition.
I've never actually brought it up to them just because I don't feel like it's my place to say anything. I mean, I've told her before, I'm like, your 2-year-old's not eating. Like, all she had today was a bottle of milk, and, like, she wanted those veggie straws, that's it. And she's like, oh, that's fine. And I'm like, okay, well, your child's, like, basically starving herself, but okay. And she just always tells me, it's fine. And, like, one day I got there, and she's like, oh, you know, if the kids just want chocolate chip muffins for lunch, that's fine. I'm like, no. I ended up making mac and cheese.
Have you ever thought of like documenting it as you go just to kind of protect yourself as well? I know that a lot of cases now between parents, if there's like a bad break or something, unfortunately it's something everyone has to look out with. But have you ever thought about, you know, kind of recording what you've attempted to feed the kids, what they actually ate instead, what the parents said in response to how you addressed it with them?
No, actually, I never thought about doing that. That's actually a really good idea. I could actually start trying that because then I could at least tell them, like, at the end of the day, like, here, this is what happened. You know, this is what I tried. This is how they responded.
Exactly. I think it might be a little bit easier to communicate this with the parents when they can see it in front of them. I think with a lot of people, it's harder to kind of comprehend and fully understand and grasp the situation until it's legitimately written out in front of you. You know, obviously you could say, oh, well, she had a glass of milk and she had some potato chips and a muffin. Mm-hmm. And it just sounds like you can't, not to say you couldn't think of it, but the parents probably do the same thing. Like, oh, I'm sure she ate during the day and I just can't remember. But if you actually record, I think that it would be a really good step, not only for the kids, but for you and the parents. And all three of you would definitely have, I think, a good progress, especially for you because it's a little bit less stress on your plate. Obviously, you still have the dynamic with the kids. That's a little off. That's something that it's not going to be the easiest to work on because they're kids. But with the parents, I think that as long as you keep an open door of communication, they're going to have a better respect for you. And moving forward, when you do, you know, sit down and communicate with them, you know, I know you're on maternity leave and January, I do need to find another job while you're on maternity leave. And instead of saying like, hey, I quit, I think that maybe a really good way to approach it would be to write a formal resignation letter. And your resignation letter kind of state to them like, hey, you know, my fiance and I bought a house in Tennessee. It was kind of on a whim. It wasn't expected at all. It was just kind of one of those things where let's see what happens. And we ended up getting the house of our dreams. And because we have this house, I have pushed off closing for a few months afterwards. So that way I can kind of close up some business deals up here, you know, finish nannying if need be, and leave it at that. I believe they would probably want to go a separate way at that point, as long as you lay it out so it's not like, hey, your kids are really difficult to deal with, and I literally am losing my mind, I can't do this anymore. I think that if you keep your head really level and you go into it very professionally, the outcome will be a lot more positive for you.
I'd probably use them as references then, too.
Exactly, which is definitely good for when you move down to Tennessee as well, where you don't have those connections made that you have up here with your other families you've nannied in the past. So I think moving forward, what kind of goals would you want to set?
So I think I want to tell them prior to the new year. So one of my goals is to, you know, have my letter written by the new year and give it to her before she goes maternity leave so she can kind of get her ducks in a row while she's, the week before her C-section. So she's not stressing out while she's trying to heal.
And I think that's very respectful of you as well.
That's a very tough thing to heal from, obviously. So it's a major surgery. Another goal of mine is going to be to start recording what they eat every day so I can give it to their parents when they get home. So they know, like, hey, your kid only had, like, 2 crackers. And it was at 10:30 this morning. And that's it. You know? And I can also be like, okay, well, they asked for snacks all day, but they wouldn't eat their lunch. I'll also record that kind of thing, because that happens. I'm like, well, if you ate your lunch, you wouldn't be starving right now. You know? And, like, how often they ask for candy, I'll probably also write down, because I'm trying to get them off sugar, because I think they have, like, a little sugar addiction going. And then other goal.
I know you had mentioned finding another job before you move as well.
Right. Yes, I need to find a job down there technically. I think I have 60 days before closing.
Okay.
So, sometime in January, I need to find another job down there to have it lined up, or at least my fiance Nick does. I think we will though. And then for up here, I want to find one that will there's like maybe like a part-time job or like a temp job, just to hold us over till we move because we still need an income.
Exactly. You're gonna need that money to move down there. You're not gonna be able to have no money. You're gonna have to put gas in your car. You're gonna have to pay for a moving truck.
And we still have to pay rent too for
exactly
our
for
condo
your current
that we have now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we have our lease till May 1st, so technically we have to pay through April still.
So I think the best thing that we can do for your goals, let's start with the resignation letter. So if you want to write a resignation letter and bring it into our next session, I'd be more than happy to go over it with you. Let you know what things you might want to word a little bit differently so they aren't seen as negatively from this family's point of view. I know sometimes it's a lot easier to have an outsider's perspective when you're writing things like this. You know, you can have the best intentions at heart, but if somebody reads it the wrong way, you don't have control over the way that they're perceiving it and actually understanding it. From there, I think what we could do, if you figure out that situation and what's going to happen, it can go one of two ways, obviously. So either the family can say, you know what, we're done, sayonara. If that happens, I'd like to work with you before you turn in that resignation letter to help you find another job. So that way you're not sitting here blindsided. What am I going to do? How are we going to have money? You know, how am I going to make this work? So what I'd love to work with you with as well is if you want to bring in a resume, we can go over that as well and make sure that you're hitting all those key points that you want and that we put your strengths into there as well. Because you do have a very great communication skill, which I think in your letter and your resume will be easily seen. And then you're very personable. And that's definitely something that's important when you nanny. You know, the family wants to feel like it's another extended family member caring for their child. And watching you with your daughter, it's very easy to see how compassionate you are about children.
Yeah, I do really love kids. That's why I've always been a nanny. I've served before, I've worked at retail before, but nothing is as enjoyable to me as nanny. Like, even though these kids aren't great, I still, like, love them. Like, I still have this love for them, even though they make me so angry. I'm like, but at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, you know, like, this 2-year-old has a cold and, like, she wants to cuddle. I'm like, I can't say no. Come here.
It's the innocence, I think. So then for your last goal, I think the best thing we can do is just maybe after the session or sometime this week, I know like the dollar store has cheap little notebooks and pens. Just make sure you keep one in your purse if you have one, and then one in your car. So if you forget one, you always have the backup one, and you're not sitting there like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You can also use your phone as well.
That's
so
true, yeah. You have notepads in there too.
Exactly. If you forget a notepad or you don't have time to run to the car or something comes up, you always have that way to record what's going on, and that's your best form of protection.
That's true. Yeah, I could definitely do that. Actually, my phone would probably be easier because I always just send it to them directly.
There you go. You could use like an email service, not like a receipt type of deal, but that way they know like this is what's gone on today, like this is what happened, like if the 4-year-old
like all about our day, like
exactly
like
I think that'd be really cool. So it'd be
yeah.
a really good way to like integrate it in a different way, and it doesn't seem as aggressive as they might perceive it as.
Right, it wouldn't seem like overstepping. It's just like, oh, here's what we did. Like we played with Play-Doh, but they didn't eat anything.
We played with Play-Doh and they tried to eat that, but not the fruit and sandwich that was offered for lunch.
Yes.
They literally said, and I quote, "I'd rather eat the Play-Doh."
Yep, so I said I'm not making 16 lunches today.
Exactly.
That's a waste of food, and I don't like throwing my food. It's like throwing my money, basically. It's just not me.
Awesome. So I think you have some really great goals set. What I'd like you to do before our next session, work on your resignation letter, work on your resume. If you don't finish, that's fine. Just bring me in what you have, and we can look at it and move forward from there. Just kind of as we go build upon it. And then for the journal of the kids, I don't need to see that. Just kind of tell me how it's been going, how it's been perceived between the parents and you, and just things that you're working with. Another thing I'd like for you to keep in mind for our next session is to think about if there's any new feelings or stressors that occur, because I'd like to work with you on that, and I'd like to make it so things are a lot less stressful for you, especially with this big move ahead of you. You don't need more stress added to your life, Cara.
Definitely don't.
No.
Because I still need to figure out, a moving company. I think we're going through Nick's work. Then the cost of that, going out of state's like just a couple $1,000s as it is.
Yeah.
Plus packing. And then, like, purging the house, deciding what we're actually taking and what we're not taking.
Well, one thing you could look into as far as moving costs, I would advise you to look into seeing how much it would cost to ship everything down there as opposed to a moving company. Sometimes, not always, it is less expensive. Like the pods, they'll
I didn't
store it
think
all in
about
there,
that.
ship it down, get your pot.
Actually, yeah, we should definitely look into that. Because I didn't know if, like, they cut him a deal because he works for the company, that's why. But if they can't, then yeah, pod might actually be a better idea.
It would be really nice for you guys if they would offer an employee discount, but
Yeah.
realistically
And
speaking,
then unload everything for us.
who knows? That would be great. You guys can just kick back and relax after the long drive. Make sure that your daughter is good in the new home. Explore things with her. Walk her around outside.
Yeah, she was asleep when we saw the house, so that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's all new for her,
It is.
which is exciting for you guys too.
It's like a gift. Like, here's your new house, have fun.
Awesome.
You have 6 acres to play on. Bye.
Well, I think that you have some really great goals in mind, Cara, and I think that you have some awesome ideas as to how to execute them. And I really look forward to seeing how things are going to progress.
Great. I look forward to our next meeting.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All your
Have a
help.
great rest of your day, Cara.
You too.